good morning, or afternoon, or evening, or in between. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, salutations, good time. It's a good time. I'm feeling good. I'm glad it's Tuesday. It's a wonderful Tuesday. Why am I playing with my hands so much? I don't know. This is that awkward moment where nobody's logged into the chat yet. And I'm just talking to myself all willy-nilly. Wondering if is today going to be the day where nobody shows up. No one shows up. Everybody just, like, we're taking a day off. Nope, Karen's here. Good morning, Karen. How are you? You're first. Karen is typically first. Today is no different. Hello, HIPAA. Hi, Aaron. How are you? Hi, David. Present. It's like we're taking a roll. Good to see everybody. We have a lot to talk about today. What's up, M Topper? Good to see you. YouTube has been getting really bad about notifications, worse than usual. I believe it. But you know the drill here. Every Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's how we do it here. That's how we do it, so you know when to tune in. There's no secret. And whenever we're not having episodes, I always try to give you guys a heads up. Which, we'll be going, it's almost 2019. Can you guys believe it? I can't. I feel like this year just started. I mean, time goes really freaking fast. And yeah, we're gonna be breaking for the year soon, which blows my freaking mind. And this is our first year, by the way. This is our first year as a show. We will have completed our first year. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you. What's up, Titanium? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. You're liking the live stream. Once we hit 30 people, we will officially begin. And my nose is itchy. Woodstock will be 50. Woodstock turns 50, and Keith Richards, I believe, turns 75 today. Or he turns something. But as far as Woodstock being 50, I don't have a ton to say because I wasn't alive for the original one, which I think in many ways was like the main one. But the Roninator, the Ronski, the Ron Man. What's up, Tim? But yeah, I wish I could have been at the original Woodstock. Oh, and Mickey confirms. Yep, Keith Richards turned 75 today. That guy. That guy. The Rolling Stones, man. Beautiful thing. I'm a fan. I used to be more of a Rolling Stones guy than a Beatles guy. As the years have gone by, it kind of flipped for me. Not that I don't love both, but I think I like, if I had to pick one, I would pick the Beatles. And it used to be the opposite. I used to pick the Stones over. That's got to be a Music Monday topic. Stones or Beatles. If you had to pick one. If you had to pick one. What's up, Chris? Good to see you, buddy. How are you? Hope all's well. Happy birthday, right? It was your birthday a little bit ago. And we didn't do an episode on your birthday, so we wished you happy birthday throughout. And I drink water out of a mason jug, because that's how I roll. Statutory, good morning. Corey gives a shout out to the Beatles. I get it, man. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, do you really, Oh, sorry, Chris. Yeah, no, Chris's big thing is he graduated from college. I knew it was something. But where you're just like, someone did something cool, and you're like, hey. I said this to a friend from growing up. I saw him last weekend, or the other week when I was back home in my hometown, and I was like, hey man, congrats on the house. And he's like, I didn't buy a house, I'm expecting a child. I was like, oh, okay. You don't want to get those two. If you're going to mix up those two, it should be one and not the other. You don't want to be like, hey, congrats on you're having a baby, and the person's like, no, we're not having a baby, I just made myself a man cave. That's what you're thinking of. Yeah, I don't want kids, and she does. That's what's causing a rift in our marriage. Like, you don't want to be that person. What's up, Pasta? Good to see ya. And Chris says, my birthday's in July. If you and Graham want to go to Indianapolis for the Progressive Comedy Tour, then that would be fantastic. We are probably going to be hitting the Midwest in the fall, but we will be there. And, it's either going to be Indianapolis or Bloomington. It will be one of the two, probably Indianapolis. But, we are almost at 30, which means we have to officially begin. None of this chatty chat. None of this chatty chat stuff. There's a bunch of ridiculous stuff going on. Magnetic, welcome. Good to see you. Aaron, happy early birthday. And if you're on the stream tomorrow, we'll wish you a formal happy birthday, because tomorrow is your birthday. By the way, this is, there's some, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's some sawing going on. They're sawing out the apartment next to mine. They're just tearing it down. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. Good morning, Andre. Guys, we are over 30. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. That means you guys send me ideas, you tweet me articles, you post them in our Reddit subsection, and that's how we build the show. We're all seeing this for the first time, and we're figuring out the news as a group. And I want to go here first. I wanted to go here first for today, because I did a little bit of tweety about this. I tweeted about this. The inevitable. Roger Stone apologizes, retracts false statements made on Infowars. So what happened here is Roger Stone made some false statements on Infowars because it's Infowars. That is, that's essentially what it's for. Alright, so here's what he said. Longtime Donald Trump associate Roger Stone settled a defamation lawsuit on Monday, admitting and apologizing for making false statements about a Chinese businessman on the right-wing conspiracy website Infowars. Stone reached a settlement with exiled Chinese businessman Zhou Wengu, who is seeking asylum in the USGUO, who also goes by the name Miles Kwok. Alright, so he filed this defamation suit in March, arguing Stone had made false statements about him around September 2017 to January 2018. Stone falsely claimed that Guo was found guilty and convicted of financial crimes in the U.S., violated election law by making political donations to Hillary Clinton, and bankrolled a presidential run by former White House advisor Steve Bannon. All these statements are not true, Stone said, adding that he failed to do proper research before making these statements. So, look, I'm not an Infowars fan, but here was my thing about this. I'm not surprised that somebody would use that platform to spread false information. The reason I bring this up today, and the reason I wanted to use it for a topic, is not to talk about the journalistic integrity or lack thereof of Roger Stone and Infowars. That's a very, very boring conversation, and I feel like most of us kind of already know where we stand one way or another. But what I saw on Twitter and on the social media blogosphere was a bunch of people using this as an excuse to defend the corporate media. And they're saying, see, you guys, CNN, and this didn't happen on CNN, this didn't happen on MSNBC, this didn't happen on Fox News, this happened on Infowars, that's where the fake news is, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, they can both be. Here's the fun part. Here's the theory I entertain. If it wasn't for the corporate media being as terrible as they are, Infowars wouldn't exist. And I do believe that to be true. Because you could say, well, it would still exist. There's still independent media. Yeah. But Infowars, as the juggernaut it's become, would not exist. Because people wouldn't have latched onto it the way they had. if people just saw Alex Jones for what it was, which it's just a parody of a parody. It's just hyperbole. It's sensationalism. It's really not meant to be taken seriously. When the guy was in court, he was referred to as a performance artist. And that's fine, but the reason it's taken seriously is because our news is so terrible. And you want to talk about defamation? That happens in the corporate media all the time. Look at all the things that have been said about Jill Stein. Look at all the things that have been said about Bernie Sanders, with no consequence, by the way. Because if you defame somebody with no money and no power, you can get away with it. If you defame a rich person, then there might be consequences, as we're seeing here. Because when you got money, you can sue. So, Infowars is doing nothing for news and information. Neither is the corporate media. I know it's hard to live in a world where there are no good guys. But in this, for instance, there's no good guys. So if you're going on the Twitter sphere defending cable news because Infowars is terrible, that's ridiculous. Do you defend cancer because AIDS is terrible? What sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Like, what's the point of defending cable news because Infowars is terrible? That is the all lives matter of media apologists. That's what that is. It is the all lives matter of media apologists. And that's a new phrase that I hope catches on. Media apologists. When you just completely overlook the structural, catastrophic flaw of our corporate media. And again, I know that the BBC has their problems. The CBC has their problems. The all state-run media has their problems. I'm not going to say they don't. But when you look at something like the BBC, for instance, if the BBC is a paper cut, America, the United States media structure is an inoperable tumor. That is the difference in degree. And yeah, the BBC has their problems. There's a lot you can point to. But the U.S. is that much worse. That much worse. And I don't think that's an embellishment at all. If BBC's a paper cut, the U.S. is an inoperable tumor. So let me see what you guys are saying. Do I got this right? Roger Stone, a liar's liar. Magnetic Perturbation says, right on. Tim says, it's like defending the Democrats because the Republicans are horrible. Yep. The corporate media collude and conspires with the police. Maybe. Well, some of you guys are saying I have the mic a little far away. Is that better? All mainstream media is right-wing or neoliberal, says Edwin. Yeah, that's accurate. That is accurate. Mike S. says, I think Alex Jones' whole purpose was to trigger liberals into giving up their free speech. That's funny, but, man, you might be right. You may have nailed it. David says that the BBC is pushing the theory that Russia is all right, so David says this. I don't know if this is true or not because I haven't seen anything to indicate this, but David says the BBC is pushing the theory that Russia's behind the yellow vests. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. Wow. All right. Well, there you go. All right. So let's move on to other things because we got a lot to talk about today. So some of you guys were bringing up Jeremy Corbyn at the end of yesterday's show, and I said we'd look into it tomorrow because we really didn't have time to dive into it. And so here's what's going on there. Jeremy Corbyn tables no confidence motion in Theresa May. UK opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn has tabled a motion of no confidence in Prime Minister Theresa May after she delayed a vote on her Brexit deal until January. Miss May rescheduled the vote for the week of January 14th after delaying it on December 11th due to lack of support. She didn't want to ruin her holidays. Come on, guys. Mr. Corbyn says it's unacceptable to make members of Parliament wait, saying she is leading the UK into a national crisis. A Labour spokesperson says the government must find time to debate this tomorrow. Now, this is as of about 7 hours ago. The motion is not necessarily legally binding, but it will increase pressure on the Prime Minister over Brexit. Okay, so he's pushing forward. So he's pushing a no confidence thing. And the reason he's doing that is to pressure her over the Brexit vote, which she delayed because she didn't have the support she wanted. And he's saying, you can't do that. That ain't cool. And she's just saying, look, I just don't want to have a bad holiday. I know that I don't have the support I need. But the holidays are coming. Let's push this off until January. My family is all getting coal if I don't get my way, said Theresa May. So there you go. I think overall this is all good for Jeremy Corbyn. And we'll see how it all unfolds, you know. I mean, this is my first time as a grown-up tracking something like this because we don't have a vote of no confidence factor in the U.S. So I'm kind of really learning all the ins and outs of it as I go. You know, I kind of know like the basic nucleus, but as far as like the nitty-gritty details, it's kind of new, kind of cool, kind of interesting. I wish we had something like it in the U.S. I really do. I think it'd be pretty cool. But as I said before, if we had voted no confidence in the U.S., we'd never, like, nobody would ever hold their position. We would just be kicking people out all the time. So there you go. There's a Jeremy Corbyn update. Oh, Jeremy Corbyn. And a little bit of climate news for you. The Extinction Rebellion's direct action climate activism. Say that 5 times fast. The Extinction Rebellion's direct action climate activism. I stumbled over that one. Comes to New York. All right. So the New York chapter of Extinction Rebellion held its first planning meeting on Thursday. Incensed and terrified by the accelerated climate crisis, activists gathered in Manhattan to discuss how they might replicate some of the successes the Direct Action Group has had in the United Kingdom. In London, less than a month after Extinction Rebellion activists blocked roads, occupied bridges, lay down in the street, and got arrested to draw immediate attention to the climate crisis, Mayor Sadiq Khan declared a climate emergency, vowing to do everything in our power to mitigate the risk of climate catastrophe. Coincidence? Greg Schrock doesn't think so, nor does anyone who's paying attention think so. All right, so let's see. The New York chapter of the group might have similar success. Here's what they had to say. Getting 1 million people to D.C. isn't enough. We need to escalate, said Shudok. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Not even going to try. Who emphasized that the group will take the path of disruptive, attention-grabbing civil disobedience rather than just marching and chanting about the importance of climate change. We're not the Extinction Yell about it. We're not the Extinction... Okay. The explosive growth of the Extinction Rebellion, which began in England with the support of a group of academics. Good luck getting that here. Good luck getting that part here. Good luck getting a group of academics. I mean, you'll get a group. It'll be a very small one. I promise you that. The days of the radical active academics are a thing of the past. At least in my experience, that's one of the reasons I left. It's one of the reasons I left academia. Because I was in academia while Occupy was going on. And I had to just listen to a bunch of people sitting in an ivory tower pontificate about it. And I kind of thought, man, I'm on the wrong side here. I'm stuck in the wrong side in this stuffy classroom. Not that Occupy was perfect. It wasn't. I'm not going to say it was. No social movement is. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off down that rabbit hole. All right. So now they're talking to some of the people getting involved here. So this is going to go down. I'm trying to see if they have... Oh, here we go. Here we go. In New York, after observing 2 minutes of silence on Thursday to acknowledge the collective grief, the activists discussed what they might do on a national day of action coming up on January 26th. So there you have it. The Extinction Rebellion is coming to the U.S. January 26th is the day of action. Still a long way from now. We're not quite at the new year yet. It's still December here. But we'll keep an eye on this and see what happens, huh? So that's a little climate update. There's the drilling. I told them I had a show. I don't know what they're trying to pull. So let's see. We got a little bit of good news mixed with bad news that you guys have sent in. So let's do some bad news first. I feel like the climate action thing, that's a reason to be a little optimistic. We're doing something. We're being active. Let's get some bad news going. Let's get some bad news going. It's not that hard, sadly. Steve sends this in. Judge tosses Parkland shooting lawsuit. The cops in schools had no duty to protect students, the judge says. And this is from December 17th. That was yesterday. Federal judge says Broward schools and the sheriff's office had no legal duty to protect students during the shooting at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Middle School. Who does then? Who does? U.S. District Judge Beth Bloom dismissed a suit filed by 15 students who claimed they were traumatized by the crisis in February. The suit named 6 defendants, including the Broward School District and the Broward Sheriff's Office, as well as school deputies Scott Peterson and campus monitor Andrew Medina. Bloom ruled that the two agencies had no constitutional duty to protect students who were not in custody. The claim arises from the actions of the shooter, a third party and not a state actor. Thus, the critical question the court analyzes is whether defendants had a constitutional duty to protect plaintiffs from the actions of crews. As previously stated, for such a duty to exist on the part of the defendants, plaintiffs would have to be considered to be in custody. For example, as prisoners or patients of a mental hospital. Peterson was the only armed person at the school when crews showed up with an assault rifle and murdered 17 people. In addition to wounding 17 more, Peterson has been widely vilified for taking refuge outside the school and not confronting crews. His arbitrary, unconscious, shocking actions and inactions directly and predictably cause children to die, get injured, and get traumatized. So, this judge has literally decided if somebody is a student in a school, our children in school, the school and authorities are under no obligation to protect them unless they're in custody. So wait. If a school shooter comes in and decides to shoot up a school, and let's say simultaneously a student in that school gets arrested for something, they did something and they get arrested, then everybody at the school is constitutionally obligated to protect that one student and nobody else. So they would just all protect that one student. Hey, this student's under arrest. Better protect them. All the other students were no obligation. How absurd is this? How absurd of it. I mean, that could be a very dark comedy sketch right there. Hey, that student's arrested. We got to protect that student. That student we got to protect. The other ones, the judge decided we're not. And it turns out in this case, there was a good guy with a gun, and the good guy with a gun ran and hid. You don't have to protect him. If you're a parent, how do you sleep at night? How do you sleep at all if you're sending your kids to school? A judge just decided no one has to protect them. Authorities, the school, under no obligation to protect your children when they're in school. None. They don't have to protect them. You know, and I'm sharing something kind of personal with you guys, but me and my fiance have discussed children. You know, we're going to be getting married next year. Or, well, technically, it'll be in 2020, so technically a little over a year, and not technically next year. But, you know, we're undecided. And she was like, you know, I'd want to raise them in a certain place. Like, we talked about maybe would Southern California be a good place if we wanted to raise children. Not that it's a bad place to raise children, but it's a little more difficult, right? You know, just because of the cost of living and stuff like that, you kind of entertain the idea, like, well, should we go to a place where we could have a house? You know, these are all just questions you wonder about. And I kind of looked at her just thinking it all over and be like, if we were really serious about having children, I don't know if I'd want to stay in this country. And I wasn't joking. And that's so sad. And maybe it's me. I mean, maybe I'm being a little too hard. I mean, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I honestly think, I mean, it's hard because that's not really my top priority right now in my life is having children. But I feel like if it was, I don't know I'd want to stay here. Because I don't think I'd have an easy time knowing that when they go off to school, nobody is obligated to protect them. Nobody has to protect them. Knowing that school shootings happen almost every other day in this country. Knowing that no matter how many happen, we're never going to see any type of common sense weapons policy. We're not going to see it. Like, we're just not. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how some of my friends and family that have young children now, I don't know how they sleep in it. I'm assuming they don't. Because I think parenting is and always has been one of the most stressful jobs in the world, I'd imagine. And now you have no assurance whatsoever that they're safe at school. And a judge just decided it's nobody's responsibility unless your kid's under arrest. All right, so I wanted to get some depressing stories out of the way. I feel like I succeeded. I feel like I really nailed it. I think I did my part, too. I think I really did. I don't know if I could... All right. Yeah, let's move on. All right, so we're mixing it up, guys. We're mixing it up. So let's do a little bit of good news, all right? That was some pretty weak sauce news. Let's do something a little more positive. All right, here's something kind of cool. Google's secret China project effectively ended after internal confrontation. So a little bit of a refresher. Google was helping China develop censored search engines. Google was just openly doing that. And, you know, to give credit where credit's due, a lot of the Google employees were not cool with that. Some of them were blowing the whistle. They were making a fuss. So when there was a deal offered by the Pentagon, Google wasn't part of that. And the reason Google wasn't part of that was because, hey, they're taking enough flack because of the Chinese search engine. They don't need any more bad press. Now, Jeff Bezos was quick to jump at the opportunity to work with the Pentagon. But nonetheless, Google, they weren't throwing their hat in the ring. Why? Because they're helping China develop a censored search engine. And of course, there's the alarm. The alarm, are they bringing that to the U.S.? Which is a valid concern. A very valid concern, and that's putting it gently. But it looks like maybe there's some good news. So let's go back to the article here. Boom. Google has been forced to shut down a data analysis system it was using to develop a censored search engine for China after members of the company's privacy team raised internal complaints that it had been kept secret from them. The internal rift over the system has had massive ramifications, effectively ending work on the censored search engine known as Dragonfly, according to two sources familiar with the plan. The dispute began in mid-August when The Intercept revealed that Google employees working on Dragonfly had been using a Beijing-based website to help develop blacklists for censored search engine, which was designed to block out broad categories of information related to democracy, human rights, and peaceful protest, in accordance with strict rules on censorship in China that are enforced by the country's authoritarian Communist Party government. According to the two Google sources, engineers working on Dragonfly obtained large data sets showing queries that Chinese people were entering into the 265.com search engine over in China. At least one of the engineers obtained a key needed to access an application programming interface, or API, associated with 265.com and used it to harvest search data from the site. Members of Google's privacy team, however, were kept in the dark about the use of 265.com. The engineers then used the data they pulled to learn about the kind of things that people located in mainland China routinely search for in Mandarin. This helped them. So they're getting people's search histories to then determine how to censor them. And other members of Google teams didn't know they were doing that. So it sounds like thus far, and we're going to continue on with this and unpack more of it. It seems like thus far, they knew they were doing something shady. I mean, they had to. I mean, just this project alone. You described the project. People that work at Google, they're not dumb. They're very intelligent people. Pretty much all of them way smarter than me. These are tech geniuses. When you say something like, yeah, so we're going to help China develop a search engine that censors a bunch of content and censors what people can find, especially when it comes to sensitive topics. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody that wears an employee badge read 1984 in high school. They know what they're doing. They know why it's dangerous. But, man, turns out the mechanisms are even shadier. All right, so let's go back to the article. And I'm sure some people opposed it out the gate. I mean, I'm sure that happened. I don't know. I don't work at Google. But I'm sure there were employees out the gate that were like, this isn't okay. I think that's why so much was leaked in the first place. All right, so through this process, the engineers compiled a list of thousands of banned websites, which they integrated into Dragonfly search platform, so it would purge links. Under normal company protocol, analysts of people's search queries is subject to tight constraints and should be reviewed by the company's privacy staff, whose job is to safeguard user rights. But the privacy team only found out about the 265.com data after The Intercept revealed it, and they were pissed. So basically, the members doing the real nitty-gritty on how to censor websites bypassed the privacy team. So they didn't even follow Google's protocol, which Google agreed to this project in the first place. So it's not like Google is some innocent entity. At least the decision makers at the top certainly aren't. But to do this job, they couldn't even follow Google's code of conduct and run stuff by the privacy team. That's what happened here. So they got to shut it down. All right, let's see how to end this. So last week, Pichai, Google CEO, appeared before Congress, where he faced questions on Dragonfly. He said right now there were no plans to launch the search engine. They refused to rule it out in the future. Google had originally aimed to launch Dragonfly between January and April 2019. Leaks about the plan and the extraordinary backlash that ensued both internally and externally appear to have forced company executives to shelve it, at least in the short term, two sources familiar with the project said. Google did not respond to requests for comment. The people won this one. The people who pressured externally and internally won this one. So this is good news. Does it mean it's going away forever? Not necessarily. It could creep back up. So that's what happened. They couldn't follow, and it's probably because it was such a shitty project, they weren't able to. They couldn't follow Google's code of conduct to complete this project, so they didn't. And the people making those judgment calls to infiltrate people's search history and to just say, privacy team be damned, those people were probably the people that had no moral objection to doing what they were doing. So here's an idea, Google, and, you know, the decision makers at Google, once again, way smarter than me. But here's the thing. If you have to undertake a project that doesn't even abide by the code of conduct of your company, don't take it on. Maybe, just maybe, Google will learn this lesson. I don't know. Money talks. Money talks a hell of a lot louder than this show. But dare to dream, right? And hey, there's a little bit of good news. The people won on this one, at least for now. Google's not doing the shady-ass censoring search engine anymore. And that's actually what they officially changed the name to. They changed the name from Dragonfly to shady-ass censoring search engine. That's it's official. All right. Got a couple more, and then I'm going to go to the chat. We're going to end a few minutes early today. But here's something. U.S. stock market's on track for worst December since Great Depression. It's official, everybody. World stock markets, the U.S. dollar and oil prices tumbled on Tuesday as fears about a glowing global economy griped investors, just as the U.S. Federal Reserve looks set this week to deliver its fourth interest rate hike of the year. Investor confidence has deteriorated further, with more fund managers expecting global growth to weaken over the next 12 months, the worst outlook in a decade. U.S. stock futures pointed to a firm open for Wall Street, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. So everything's shitty when it comes to investment. We're facing the biggest December fall in U.S. stocks since 1931. So since the Great Depression, what we got to do is we got to get out the merchandise. Got to make t-shirts. We got this almost 20-year-long illegal war, and all we got was this Great Depression-esque stock market. Got this illegal war, and all I got was this failing stock market. I thought we bailed Wall Street out. Didn't work still. I mean, the one uplifting thing, when you see us plummeting to essentially being the Great Depression, the one good thing is, you know, that led us to a New Deal. So what we need now is a new Green New Deal. If we're going to mirror the Great Depression, we need something to combat it, which is a New Deal, a Green New Deal. And which political party's promoting that? Neither. Neither of the ones with power. Some of the progressives that have infiltrated are trying to. That have infiltrated the Democrats are trying to. So there we go. We are marrying the Great Depression as far as the market goes. We're due for another crash. I'm excited about the merchandise, and, you know, I think we got to start getting some of we're due for another swing revival, which, honestly, I'm not thrilled about. I think the more recent wave of swing, you know, that was ushered in like, the late 90s, I thought it was kind of weak in comparison. I wasn't into it. So I'm hoping that if we get a new swing wave, it's a better one than the one we had in the 90s. Cherry Poppin' Daddies didn't do much for me. Brian Setzer I can never get on board with. Even Stray Cats I thought were kind of cheesy. So I'm hoping that this next swing revival, which I feel that we'll get since we're marrying the Great Depression again in the market sense, will be better music. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We'll go here, and then I got one more, and then I'm going to go to the chat. All right. This is from Charlottesville. Judge approves multiple life sentences for neo-Nazi in Charlottesville attack. James Alex Field, who charged his car into a group of counter-protesters after the Unite the Right rally, received a recommended multiple life sentences from a jury today. Last week, he was found guilty on all charges, including the first-degree murder of Heather Heyer. Today, jurors formally recommended the life sentences to the judge, who accepted the jury's decision. Tim shares this, by the way. So we all know what he did. On August 12, 2017, he drove his car into a group of anti-racist protesters, and he murdered Heather Heyer with his car. He fled the scene. Field's defense at trial sought to convince jurors that he had been attacked by protesters before driving into the crowd, but didn't have any luck, as this theory was easily disproven by eyewitness and video evidence. Prosecutors presented evidence to prove Field's malicious intent that day, which included memes he had sent about running protesters over with cars. A text with a picture of Hitler that he sent his mother. And prison phone calls after his arrest, in which he called Heather Heyer the enemy and said her death, quote, doesn't fucking matter. That's a disgusting human being that deserves to spend the rest of his life in jail. That's what that is. Wow. And it looks like he's going to, and that's good. That's good. He should spend the rest of his life in jail. I don't really have anything else to say about that. And one thing in the article, I'm not going to go back to it, but one thing that I saw as I was skimming it is that Heather Heyer's family said that they're happy about the sentence, but they do encourage everybody to continue fighting for the causes that Heather believed in. And what did Heather believe in? Well, she believed in real change in this country. She believed in living wages. She believed in a Green New Deal. She believed in single-payer universal health care because she was a big Bernie supporter. And she believed that racism and xenophobia and bigotry didn't have a place in our society. She was on the right side of things, and she wasn't afraid to let her voice be known, and she wasn't afraid to show up at a protest. And her life was cut short. So, all right. I got one more story, then we're going to go to the chat. Guys, you know I've been following net neutrality and municipal broadband. It's one of the big causes we cover regularly on the show, so here's an update. With a Friday deadline, these 16 House Democrats are about to go down in history for helping the GOP kill the internet as we know it. And this is a quote: "Any rep who doesn't sign is making it clear they don't really support net neutrality and would rather take money from big telecom companies rather than side with the overwhelming majority of voters from across the political spectrum. This is completely and utterly unacceptable for any Democrat not to support this. Even Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi support net neutrality. I mean, when it's politically convenient, but still. The U.S. House still has an opportunity to side with the vast majority of the American public and overturn the Republican-controlled FCC's net neutrality repeal, but time is quickly running out. With Friday, December 21st, marking the official deadline to restore net neutrality in this session of Congress, the House still needs 38 signatures to pass the Congressional Review Act resolution that would reverse the FCC's deeply unpopular repeal, which was crafted by Ajit Pai. According to Fight for the Future, 16 Democrats, all of whom are major recipients of telecom cash, still haven't signed the CRA. To pass, the CRA needs every Democrat and at least 22 Republicans to sign on before the Friday deadline. The 18 House Democrats who still haven't signed on are Brendan Boyle, Robert Brady, G.K. Butterfield, Matt Cartwright, Jim Costa, Henry Cooler, Dwight Evans, Vincent Gonzalez, Josh Gottheimer, Gene Green, Tom O'Halloran, Brad Schneider, David Scott, Kristen Sinema, Falone Vela, and Pete Visklowski. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it looks like that's 16, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right. Yeah, it's 16. So I don't know. All right, so then you can view the full list there. So I guess maybe they mean that maybe this was a typo and it's 16, not 18. Or maybe they're saying that these are the 16 that also take cash. But either way, the fact that there's any Democrats not on board with this, and it seems like this list hasn't really changed. I mean, we covered this list a little while ago, and it looks like the list hasn't changed at all. Now, all right, yeah, I think that's just a typo, and it's 16 Democrats. Yeah, I think that 18 is just a typo. That's what I'm going to go with. But I'm glad I just awkwardly counted on a screen for you guys. I'm glad we did that. So I'll be honest, I don't think the CRA is going to happen. They should have unanimous Democratic support. The fact that they don't is beyond tragic, and it's proof that Democrats really don't represent the people. I mean, this is such a no-brainer issue. An issue that, by the way, has big support from organizations, too, by the way. Google is pro-net neutrality. Netflix is pro-net neutrality. That's why someone like Nancy Pelosi is all on board with net neutrality. She's up in San Francisco. Most of the tech community is pro-net neutrality. The only ones that aren't are the internet service providers. AT&T, Comcast. Basically, we're a corporation. Does it help our bottom line? Then we're for it. If it hurts our bottom line, we're not. That's why Google and Netflix support net neutrality. They don't support it for the same reason I do, or you do. They support it because of their bottom line. And you know what I say? Hey, we'll take the unlikely ally in this case, because we need all the help we can get. But not even all day. Public opinion, about 83%. And I think that number has even gone up. 83% at least of consumers support net neutrality. And they're still taking it from us. And the opposition to Trump, which Trump's FCC brought down net neutrality. They repealed net neutrality. Trump's appointment, Ajit Pai, who, yes, was brought to the fold in the first place by Obama. But it's still Trump's FCC that repealed net neutrality. The opposition party to Trump, are they all in unison in supporting reinstating net neutrality? No, they're not. No, they're not. So I don't think the CRA is going to happen because we can't even get all the Democrats. We're certainly not going to get 22 Republicans. I'm making the prediction now. It's not going to happen, at least not this year. We need to move forward with the other ways we're fighting, which is state bills. We got a good state bill in California that's being fought out in court right now, our net neutrality bill in California, and the permanent fix for this, municipal broadband. And the bright spot about municipal broadband, that's something you can do in your community. You can show up to a town hall and demand municipal broadband. Charlemont, Massachusetts, Longmont, Colorado. See, they're all small. They're smaller towns. All right, give me a break. Charlemont, Massachusetts, Longmont, Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado, Sandy, Oregon, Chattanooga, Tennessee, all have municipal broadband networks. It's affordable. There's a organization called the Institute for Local Self-Reliance that will come to your city and assess what type of network you need that's the most cost efficient and will get high quality internet to residents. I'm having the fight in my community right now in Pasadena, California, where I live. I've tried to get the Institute for Local Self-Reliance into the city. The city has said no. So now I got to get local support for it to show the city that this should be a priority. And that's what I'm working on. But, so it is bad. The CRA is probably not going to happen. That's not good news. But the good news is that there's still other ways we're fighting this thing. And those fights we're starting to see some fruit from. You know, the state bill in California did pass. It's being fought in court. But we're fighting for it. And municipal internet keeps spreading across the country. And that needs to continue. Because that's the permanent fix for all this. Let me go to the chat, see what you guys are saying. And that's how we're going to dismount today. You know? You know? Kyle, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. Hey, Ron, what is the best way to send donations? Does Google take a cut out of what we donate? Which method of donation do you prefer? That's a very kind question, Kyle, and thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. And to answer your question, become a patron. If you are so able, please do consider becoming a patron of this show. For just $1 a month, you get all kinds of exclusive content. You get my album. You get to go be on the guest list for my shows if I'm coming to your town. And you can get all that for as low as $1 a month. Yeah. And that's patreon.com/romplacone. Again, patreon.com/romplacone. So that's the answer to your question, Kyle. I know some of you don't have that option. That's fine. But if you are so able, please do consider becoming a patron. And I write a lot of blogs there, and I have fun with that. I write a dialogue with my cat, Lucy. You know? Lucy's dialogue's a lot of fun. Patrons get it. Patreon.com/romplacone. Balthazar, Ron, please, please, please check out Streamlabs. I know. All right, I gotta check out Streamlabs. Daniel, read The Wanting Seed by the author of A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. It's a kind of dark comedy set in the future about the country creating laws legally allowing only one childbirth per woman. You know, Daniel, it's interesting. Anthony Burgess is quick to say, now the only work of his I've read is Clockwork Orange, and that's the case with most people, I think. But Anthony Burgess himself, the author, I read an essay where he is really quick to write off Clockwork Orange. Like, it frustrates him that Clockwork Orange is his work that is the most celebrated, because he feels it's nowhere close to his strongest. I don't think he's ashamed of it or anything like that, but the essay I read, and this is going back over a decade, so it's not fresh in my mind, but he basically said he compared it to Beethoven, because he's a big classical music fan, which is obvious in the Clockwork Orange. He compared it to Beethoven, saying everybody celebrates Beethoven's Fifth. That's nowhere close to his best work. It was just the most alluring and compelling at the time, and it spread into pop culture. And everyone, Beethoven's Fifth, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. Everybody, that's everybody. And I'm here to tell you, as a Beethoven fan, this is what Anthony Burgess was saying. Man, he had so much better stuff, and that's how Anthony feels about Clockwork Orange. So I guess, long story longer, Daniel. I'd be curious. I'd be curious to read more of his stuff. Let's see. Thomas, Ron Placone, wish my son Joshua Williams a happy birthday for me, please. Sure, no problem. Happy birthday, Joshua. I hope you have a good one. Go out and do something cool. You're Thomas's son. I don't know any other details about you. You might be in your 20s. You might be really young. If you're really young, stay out of trouble. If you're in your 20s, go find some trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Do you. You know, do whatever you is. You know, I'm just joking around. Do you. So let's see here. And Daniel agrees with what Anthony Burgess said about his work. I got to read some more of his stuff. Usually the conversation I have with people about Clockwork Orange is, you got to read the frickin' book. I know a lot of people, they saw it, and I like the movie, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie, but the book, I prefer the book a lot to the movie, and I tell people, you gotta read the book. Oh, you gotta read the book. I'm still going through puberty. You gotta read the book. You gotta read the book. Because I don't want to say anything else, I might spoil Clockwork Orange. they resolve themselves differently. This is the last thing I'll say about this because I don't want to spoil anything. They resolve themselves differently, and Anthony Burgess, again, that's another thing about him. He wasn't happy with the way the movie resolved itself because that wasn't what happened in the book. There was... Man, I don't... See, I know what I want to say, but I'm worried it'll spoil something if I say it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to... In the movie... alright, I'm just going to drop it. But basically, there's a full evolution in the book that they don't really show in the movie. There we go. I'm not going to say anything else. And Video Game Vision Quest points out the American publication of the book left out the last chapter. That is true, too. That is true, too. And I have read the British version. And Yarrow points out, Ron, it's 50 years old. You're not spoiling something if it's been out. Is that the rule, though? Is that the rule where it's like if it's been out for a certain amount of time, fuck it, you can say whatever you want? But there's still, I mean, that has spread a lot. Like, that has spanned generations, A Clockwork Orange has. So there is still people that, all right, fine. So, all right, you know what? I'm going to say what I want to say. And if you haven't seen Clockwork Orange and you plan on it, mute me. Mute me right now, and I'll give a thumbs up when we're done. Okay? So you got 5 more seconds. If you've never seen A Clockwork Orange and you don't want to hear this spoiler, mute me right now, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say for like a minute, and then when we're done, I'm going to thumbs up. All right? Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If you don't want to hear a Clockwork Orange spoiler, yeah, hopefully you've already muted me. All right, so for everyone who hasn't muted me. In the book, all right, so the main character is a bad guy, and he does all kinds of terrible things. And he... I mean, you guys know this, because you guys are not looking, you know, this is the non-spoiler Clockwork Orange crowd. In the movie, so they do a method, they do a psychological method where they associate painful stomach medication with stuff like naked women and other things that he didn't know how to behave himself about, right? I mean, he would go around raping people. He was a terrible person. So he could no longer be around women. He could no longer be around any of the things that he used to exploit and cause evilness to. It was a Pavlovian thing, as Austin pointed out. So that's what they did to him, and it worked. And then in the end of the movie, it just stopped working. It wore off. Because that psychological experiment, if you don't repeat it every so often, eventually it goes away. And they proved that years ago with dogs. So it went away for him. But in the book, that happens. That happens in the book. But he also explores his own psyche, because just going through all of it had an effect on him. And what he realized was that he wanted to be a father. So it had a kind of, there was something kind of uplifting in it that even the most, even the most despicable, there's a chance of change. And that was kind of, I guess, supposed to be the moment of hope in it. And that was excluded from the movie. So you find out in the book that his angst was linked to him wanting to be a dad. And as Daniel says, it's about growth. All right, it's over. It's over. That's it. For all of you that didn't want to hear about the Anthony Burgess thing, it's over. So if you haven't seen The Clockwork Orange yet, go see it. Go read it. That's a better thing to do. And read the British version. Make sure you get your hands on a British version. Anyway, all right. So that's that. Weird way to end. But Clockwork Orange is a brilliant piece of literature for what it is. It is a disturbing piece of literature, but yeah, but it's a great book, and I recommend it. And try to make sure you get the UK version. Guys, we are totally out of time. You guys are awesome. That was a lot of fun. You guys are so cool. You sparked so many interesting conversations, and I don't know what I'd do without you guys. Patreon.com/Ron Placone if you're so able. Oh, and real quick, tour dates. Lafayette, Louisiana. Tickets are available now. We just announced that show yesterday, March 10th. Lafayette, Louisiana. Tickets available now at ronplacone.com. San Antonio, Texas. Tickets are available now at ronplacone.com. Boise, Idaho. Tickets will be available today. Today, Boise, Idaho tickets are coming shortly after this stream, actually. And Austin, Texas. Tickets will be available soon. ronplacone.com for all those dates. Florida, get your tickets now. We're coming in January. It's coming up. Grab your tickets. I love you all very much. You guys make this so much fun. I love doing this show. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel. 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Until then, Pacifics. I said Pacifics. 10 a.m. Pacific Time. I'm going all over my words today. I think I got a little bit of dry mouth going on. I should have had more water throughout this stream. Too late now. You guys are awesome.